Hello, and welcome back for another new video today. I'm excited to kick off this new series that I want to do on my channel. We'll see how it goes, but I got inspired to create builds that are based off of emoji. I think that this could be a really fun challenge because with some of these emoji that we get, also it's just weird to say emoji because that's technically the correct plural. I often say emojis, but I'm going to try to just stick with emoji. Anyways, I digress. But I think we have a lot of cool fun emoji on our phone, and I think it's a really creative and fun way to just kind of get inspired to do a build that's based off of one. So today we are going through a mushroom emoji inspired speed build. If you're new here, welcome in. I think this is a fun introduction. And before we dive into the speed build, if you already know of some ideas for emoji you'd like to see a build based off of, go ahead and drop those down in the comments. So let's go check this out. So I built this in Hemford-on-Bagley. I love Hemford-on-Bagley. I think it's a fun, cozy kind of world. And just obviously love the cottage vibes. That's the perfect place for a cottage core kind of build, which is what I wanted here. So whenever I think of mushrooms, I think of like fantastical, fantasy, whimsical, magical, those types of vibes. So I was trying to emulate some whimsy a little bit with putting it in this cottage core aesthetic. So I wanted to play with the terrain tools just a little bit. I wanted it to be on somewhat of an incline, a little bitty hill. Whenever I think of a mushroom type house, that's what I picture in my mind. And so I had a lot of fun kind of playing with the roof pieces and making them look like a mushroom shape. And I wanted this vivid red, and unfortunately the only one we really get that's a true red is like this tin metal roofing that I put on here. Put some nice white trim and got this cobblestone type looking walls. Not really cobblestone, but just like the stone aesthetic a little bit, and got some red doors propped on there. So some of the vibes I was going for, obviously just working with one emoji, other than just the fact it's a mushroom, just trying to pull the colors in a little bit. So we get this like red and white color that's I'm trying to make very predominant throughout the build everywhere that I put it. And I wanted to have a nice staircase that went up to the front porch area. And you see there are two circles, but they're not attached. And my idea with this was that maybe whenever I'm thinking of someone who would live in this type of house, that someone loves reading. So reading books, having a little bit of like an office space that's pretty cluttered up. So I was also going for someone who's very big into knickknacks and wanting to collect a lot of things of that nature for this type of build. So this little separate circle that you'll see in a little while, I'll start to clutter up and fill in. It's actually a library area. And I thought it was kind of cute to have that be something that you leave the main home from and go in its own little room and own little thing. So you actually have a dedicated library space in your house or on your lot. So what I'm working on right now is this front porch. I was having this issue where with the way the stairs are placed, you can see that there's this one random column that stands up in the middle of the ground area in front of the front door. There's a little bit of a trick to get rid of that. It's a bit of an annoyance to have to deal with, but it's not a big deal. But it just wasn't the vibe, but the stairs were where I wanted them to be. And what I'm working on right now is I wanted it to be lofted. So the upstairs is only half of the circle, and that's going to be where I have the full bathroom and the bedroom space. It took a while. I cut it out just for editing purposes, but y'all know if you've done circular builds or anything with circular rooms, putting staircases in them is very difficult because we don't have rounded staircases that kind of go nice and spiral up against the wall. Now, I thought about getting some CC stairs in here, and I even downloaded a few that go to the wall and fit to a rounded wall, but I was like, I can't do it. Even though it's just one item, I was like, I don't want to do that because then it renders the whole upstairs unusable, and then y'all would have to figure out how to place a new staircase and everything. So I did not use a CC staircase. Even though on the gallery it says that I use CC, I did not use CC in this build. It's not at all a CC build. Completely. It's not just limited pack though either. I used a lot of packs, so I'm really sorry. But I wanted it to have this lofted space with the bedroom. I just thought that matched this kind of fun, whimsy vibe a little bit, that your bedroom space is open to the bottom floor in the living area. And so with the living space, you can see now I'm starting to furnish it a little bit. Still sticking with the red color a good bit. I was thinking light colors. Again, the emoji has the red mushroom top with the white polka dots on it. So red and white is kind of the theme with the whole build. So I put this light colored like wood flooring in, and I put some green as an accent color. Obviously with mushrooms, I think of plants just generally, and plants are a lot of greenery. So I thought green was a nice little extra color to throw into the mix here. Now I do add some other extra colors soon whenever we start cluttering it up and getting the walls done and everything like that. But I'm trying to figure out the vibe a good bit. And I was going for lighter wood tones, and then I put in this brown wood tone for some of the furniture. And for some of it, it's even a darker brown wood tone. And then you'll see later with the library, I kind of changed gears a little bit. I think it's fun to go with the more cozy, comfy aesthetic in a library space that you would want, especially one that's that small. Now, one thing you see me doing here was I actually overimposed this faux fireplace we got from Cozy Kitsch onto this little cozy fireplace that we get and with the pipe in the wall, and I think it's just a fun vibe and it fit really well. So I kind of turned this faux fireplace into an actual fireplace by doing that. And I was like, new hack, y'all. So that fits in pretty well if you wanted to do that. And I just thought it lent to the cozy and whimsy vibes a good bit because it looks a little off, you know, but it's got that antique-y feel. But then we have this modern looking fireplace that has the checkered pattern on it, and it introduces that green color too, which I thought was nice. So now we're starting to get into some of the more details with getting the walls up. I ended up going with this red and white wallpaper with the flowers on it. I know that we have swatches with mushrooms on it, but the overall vibe was very cream color and green, and that's not really what I was going for with this build. Again, I wanted to focus more on the red and bring that in, and so you can see I brought in the Cozy Kitsch rug that has that checkered pattern on it as well, and I just thought that matched with the fireplace vibe a pretty good bit and got the colors that we needed. Now, I do end up using the mushroom swatch of the wallpaper from Cottage Living into the library space, so I do end up using it. I just wait and use it there, and you'll see why. I know I'm kind of alluding to that quite a few times, but you will see why. There is a whole method to my madness, I promise. I really, really promise there is. But I wanted to put these like little blankets in that we got from Life and Death because a quilt just matched the vibe too, and I end up putting some like knitting and cross stitching because obviously someone who's going to live in this house, to me, I just imagine they're into those types of crafty things, just fitting the vibes of the actual house itself. And so now I'm getting to this part where I'm like over cluttering the space with a ton of knickknacks and just random objects, just keeping in mind that's what I wanted to go for. Oftentimes with my cottage builds, I feel like the people who live in them just collect a lot of things, and it doesn't matter if it's tiny or large, I'm going to clutter it up. What you're seeing me do, and why I keep going to the outside of the build, is I pulled just a ton of cluttered objects from the catalog and place them all there, and it's kind of just nice to have them all in one spot where I can see them and be like, ooh, this would work well here, or this would work well there, and it just makes it easier to where I'm not having to just constantly scroll through the catalog, like, what can I put here? So that's a little bit of a hack that I do that I think is really fun and easy to do, and sometimes I'll even go on the gallery and look and see if I can find people who have like super cluttered rooms or something like that, and I'll plop the room down and just pull all the objects from it because it's matching the vibe or the aesthetic that I'm looking for. I even looked on the gallery for like mushroom rooms, you know, just to see what people had done and how they cluttered it up. And I looked for like cottage-core rooms, and I just plopped the room down and I just took a lot of objects that I wanted to use that I thought would work well in this build and put them all out there. And then that just saves you a lot of time from having to scour the catalog. We know the catalog is not organized very well. I struggle all the time, especially now that we're getting more and more and more kits and DLC. It's just getting more time consuming to try to find things that you want to use, because it's not often that you're just always going to know like, oh, I want this particular item from this pack for this particular space in this particular home. It just doesn't happen super often. Now, I definitely have moments where it's like, oh, this item would work perfect here, or I'm thinking of using this one here. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but it does make it a lot easier, you know? So that's kind of one of the hacks that I do that gets me through some of these builds a little bit quicker. And so now just putting up some of the cross stitching and the tapestry. I do put tapestry in this house a few times, and that just goes more with the knitting cross stitch vibes. And I was pretending like the sim who lives here made them themselves, so that was the idea with that. Just putting books and plants everywhere. I put that mushroom book on the table in the coffee table in the living room, and I thought that was a cool vibe. I put the book stacks under the staircase, and I just thought that fit the aesthetic as well, so we have some extra books and clutter and just storing everything in every little nook that I can in this build. Now I'm putting this like nice little vase and candle there with the llama. Now, I love this cute little llama. Y'all know how I am about llamas in the game. Llamas, freezer bunnies, some of my favorite items. So I was like, I have to put that. It's super cute. Maybe we can pretend like she made it. I don't know. But I'm putting this lighting up here now. Now, if you're not used to building lofted spaces, a little bit of a tip for you: whenever you grab a ceiling light, it's not going to automatically go to the second floor if you have the grid turned off. So easily just press G. If you have it off, if it's already on, then it's fine. But oftentimes I like to build with the grid off, and that just makes it easier to see the floor, to see the vibes and everything. It just looks better, in my opinion, to build with it off. Now, if I need to make something symmetrical, I'll turn it on if it's not easy to see. But that's a little bit of a tip if you do lofted spaces. The lights will automatically go to the first floor, even though you need it to be on the second floor. But if you turn the grid on, it will go to the second floor. Now, I'm working on the kitchen here, and I wanted to do something a little bit different with the flooring. I don't want this hardwood everywhere necessarily. So I did play around with the colors in the kitchen. You can see I'm going back and forth with this yellow. I'm like, I don't know, should I use yellow? Should I not use yellow? There's not yellow in the emoji. Like, how can I incorporate this? And the reason why I wanted to use the yellow was not only just to give something that's different to the vibe of the downstairs. I didn't want it all to just be the exact same wallpaper everywhere. But if you're using rounded rooms, it automatically places on the entire quarter of the circle. Like, you can't do individual panels. So it's hard to make that work really well. So I ended up wanting to use the yellow because in the tile that I used from For Rent, it has that yellow accent in it. And I think the yellow actually works really well with this house. I think it's a nice accent color, and it goes well with green. So I thought that it was nice to do something a little bit different. I used the red cabinets over on the main side of the kitchen, and then for this little tea area where the sink is on the opposite side, I used the white, off-white color. So I think it helps balance the space because we have the white in the tile, and you bring that in, because I thought if it was red everywhere, it would be a little much. I don't know. It could have been the vibes, but I thought it was a little bit much. So I put the little mushroom teapot on the dining table, as you just saw me place, and I thought that was a really cute little touch. I tried to use as much of the mushroom nods as I could that I could find in the game. We don't have a lot of objects that have mushrooms on them, so I was trying to use like the garden gnomes a lot as well. You can see them out there. I put those. I put the mushroom terrarium that we get from, I think it's Werewolves. I put that in the build 6 times. I used every swatch of it, and y'all know how I like to hide things in my builds, and so I'll go ahead and tell y'all that that is what I hid in the build. I have 6 of them somewhere in this house or on the lot that you have to find. So just a little bit of a spoiler alert in case y'all might see me place 1 or 2 of them in here. I purposefully tried to leave that out of the video, so y'all can't really see where I placed those. But now I'm just like doing my favorite thing. Y'all know how much I love the clutter. Cluttering the kitchen area. I put my little elephant teapot. You know how obsessed I am with that. And then I did end up going back and adding in some of the items from the kitchen clutter kit that we just got. I put those little herb plants over next to the kitchen sink, and then I also ended up putting the oven mitts over in the kitchen as well. And I just thought it matched the vibes a good bit. I left the grocery bag that I have here. I know we got the new grocery bag, but I just felt like a brown bag, like just felt more cottagey to me. So I liked having the brown paper bag with groceries in the kitchen. So now we're going upstairs where we're working on the bedroom space. I went back and forth on using a queen size bed because it takes up so much of the room. I had originally a twin bed that was from, I think it was Horse Ranch, that worked kind of well with the colors, but it just wasn't fitting the vibe. Something was off about it, so I would much rather have this metal framing bed, and I put the Love Struck flower wallpaper in here, just again keeping to the nods with like the florals and plants with mushrooms. Just mushrooms, plants go hand in hand. And I tried to use pink a bit more in this space as an accent color because we do have pink in the wallpaper downstairs as well. So I was wanting to bring that color in just as an added accent or pop that we could get in this bedroom space that lightened it up, because the red is kind of heavy, and I think the wallpaper helped brighten it up a little bit, but I wanted some pops off of that dark red in the bedroom space. So I'm putting like a nice little wardrobe in here, and then some handbags. I put some makeup and things like that. We have the quilts with the pillows over in this corner by the bed, which is a perfect place to put them if you're going to have them. And then I used this nice big mirror over on the side, which I think whenever you're walking into the bedroom, the reason why I wanted it there, not only to cover up where the roof is clipping in, because round rooms are going to be round rooms in The Sims, but whenever you open the bedroom door, you're facing the mirror, and I just feel like that helps maybe make the space feel a little bit bigger. And then I put a couple of those mushroom stools over by the mirror as well. I like to put poofs by my mirrors. It's just kind of a vibe. I like to picture like maybe you're getting ready, you sit down to put your shoes on or something like that, and then before you look at your final fit. Now I'm working on the bathroom space. So with this one, it was very funky. It's a very weird layout for a bathroom space, and it's just weird in general because whenever you're going upstairs, obviously if you have guests over, I wanted it to be like, well, they just have direct access to the bathroom without having to go in your bedroom. And so that's why I have like the door, you have to go through the bathroom to get to your bedroom, but it's not really that weird, I don't think. There are definitely places that have weirder things, I feel like, with the layout of your space. But I went with this tile in the bathroom. It's like an orangey peachy color. And I mainly went with it because not only did I like just the color aesthetic of it, and I thought it went kind of nicely with the wood tone and the red color that's in there, but it also, with the little tile here and there that's like the lighter color, made me think of the spots on a mushroom. So with the emoji, we have the white spots, and I was like, well, that's kind of a nod to that, where you get these little spots that kind of, emulate the idea of the mushroom top. So that's why I went with this tile, and now I'm just cluttering up some of the shelving in there. But I was like going for this pinky hue with the tile, which is peachy with the red on the accent wall. And then I'm just putting some artwork over here on this wall. And I really think that for the layout of the bathroom, it came together pretty well. I put a little radiator in there too, and I just thought that was the vibes as well. Like thinking I'm gonna lay in the bathtub and then have the heat on in the winter time or something and just relax. But now we're getting over to the library space, which was quite tight. But I made it work, I think, pretty well given the space and the layout that we had to work with. So I put these little chairs over in that corner where we could actually put walls. If you're new to using rounded walls, they're kind of hard to add walls to. And then I put this fireplace similar to like what I did in the living room space, but just different colors. As you can see, I used a darker wood tone. So I was actually going for a little bit of a juxtaposition here with using a darker tone in this library space. I feel like darker colors for libraries just feel aged a bit more, like cottage core energy. I don't know how to put it, like more vintage vibes. So I wanted to use darker colors generally in the library space. Now, you also might have seen that I put the little stack on top of the rooftop for like a little chimney space, and I thought that was really perfect for this type of build. There's this whimsy spelled all over that, and I put some fun nods to the circles on the mushroom here on the rug. So I was doing this custom rug where I was trying to make it look like a mushroom top with using the same rug and just a white swatch of it, and sized it into different sizes for the different circles. So that was a lot of fun to do something like that, and I think it's a cute little way to give a nod to the original mushroom build. And so now I'm just cluttering up. Now you'll see this room ends up changing over in this little area by the window that I'm working on right now a pretty good bit. I was going back and forth on this yellow color, and also just the cozy kitchen maybe looked a little too modern or not quite right. Right here is where I delete it all, and I'm like, we're gonna go a different direction. Let's put a computer in here. So I end up trying a couple of different desks, and I thought the one from Werewolves fits really well as a one tile desk, and it just matches kind of the aesthetic and energy, and it's a good way to add some more red into the room. So we do get a little bit more of the green and yellow in this room compared to the rest of the house. And so I still wanted an accent of red, just keeping in mind that we do use that mushroom wallpaper. So it's a lot more green and kind of white colored. So it stands off a bit more having that be red. And so I'm putting some plants in, some last minute clutter items. You can see outside already a lot of the clutter is gone because I've put it in the house. So we don't have a lot more left to do with cluttering up the space necessarily. And then I just feel like it would be nice to have a separate space like this. I don't know. It was something that I thought was a cute idea, and I think it turned out really well. And there I do put the wallpaper on, so you can see I used that. And I think it comes together quite well. And that's why I wanted to wait and use this wallpaper in there too, was because the wood paneling on the bottom is brown, and so I didn't want that in the house. Again, just keeping in mind I wanted more of the more cream white colored wood tones in there. I ended up putting a candle. I think the candle makes the lighting warm. I changed all of the lighting in this room especially to be yellow toned and warm toned, and then I put this leaf curtain at the entrance to like the seating area. I just thought that was a cute little vibe to have growing there. And then the last touches here are just putting a couple of pictures above the fireplace. And then I think we moved to the outside. Yes, we do. So I was a little bit lost with the outside initially. It's like I know what types of vibes I'm wanting to put, but I go through and put these shutters from Horse Ranch on the entire house. around the whole house, which took a while. I took that out of the video for y'all, but I put these flowers, and I just feel like this lent to the vibe to have vines growing all over it. That gives more of the whimsy, kind of magical feel and aesthetic that I was going for personally. And then on the right side of the lot, you'll see that I actually put a fishing pond over on that side. And this was kind of a choice because whenever I was growing up, I lived on a road that had a big pond right where you turn onto it, and it was a lot older houses, and the house that had that pond was actually a cobblestone cottage house. And so I was thinking of that whenever I put this here, so it kind of is a nod to my childhood a little bit and where I grew up, because they would actually let people fish on it. And so the idea here, I put a fishing sign out there, and the idea was that people in Hemford-on-Bagley can come by our house here and fish if they wanted to. Now you can see I put this little walkway again with the tile with the circles, a nod to the like speckled look on top of a mushroom. And you can see obviously with the roof pieces that I put on there to make it look like an actual mushroom. I think that brought it to life a pretty good bit. I put the foraging table out there. I just felt like that had some cottage vibes, and that's something like we collect knickknacks, we forage, you know, it just kind of goes hand in hand a little bit more. And then I try to put like some gardening things and just a lot of lanterns, plants, and just kind of that aesthetic is what I was going for outside. I put a gardening space in the back corner, and there is where we grow like our mushrooms. So we actually grow mushrooms. We have mushroom fields on this lot, which I think is a fun nod to it as well. I love using this bicycle with the planter boxes on it. I think it's a cute and fun, easy way to bring some whimsy into your house and just some nice charm elements that, and if you take the time to actually put plants in it, it just makes it come to life a good bit more. So I love using this object. I use it so much in my builds whenever I'm doing cottagey or whimsy or magical type vibes. Then I put a tree in the front yard, and then this is where I put the like mushroom fields, as I'm calling them. I just alt place a lot of mushrooms, and I actually planted mushrooms. So those mounds you see there are actual mushroom seeds that are planted there, but I went ahead and like alt placed some mushrooms there like they were growing there already, just to make it look more realistic. And then I used a lot of like yellow flowers and sunflowers, and then I put some hydrangeas in. I just feel like hydrangeas are great for cottagecore vibes. I love hydrangeas. Sunflowers are too. So I was trying to focus on plants that were red, yellow, and white. Those were kind of the main colors. I have some pink vibes a little bit, and then the gateway obviously has those purple flowers, but I can't really change that, so we were beholden to using those. And so I just do some last minute touches on landscaping. Let's go ahead and jump into the build, and I'll show y'all what it looks like. So I put it on this little 20 by 15 lot down here in Hemford-on-Bagley, and this is the build in all its glory. You can see I added some terrain paint to make it look a little more lived in, and at nighttime, very well lit. Have some nice vibes here. But I added these. I've done this before in a gingerbread house one time, and I love the aesthetic of this. This is just like the Party Starters balloon pile from Party Essentials, and I just think it looks cute like little puffs of smoke, and I think it adds to the whimsy vibe a pretty good bit. I ended up just putting some hedges around the outside of the fence line where I had it, and put a ton of plants over in this corner here like it was growing up. I wanted to use these trellises a pretty good bit on this build just to make it look like there are plants growing all over it. So I wanted that vibe that it's becoming a little overgrown. So as we head inside, you can see a little bit more closely like all of the clutter that I put in here. I think the colors came together really well with the red and green. And I have like this really dark red too that's in this piece of furniture over here, and in the rug, and this door. So I was trying to bring in some different shades of red, and you get the pink too a little bit in this wallpaper down here. But this is kind of the vibe that we have going on downstairs in the living space. And then of course putting a lot of plants and more knickknacks over here. We have our knitting and fun little vibes with that. We have the cat statue. I definitely picture someone who loves cats living here. And then we have the dining space off of that. Now I love doing mismatched chairs, y'all know this, and I think it just adds a little bit more whimsy cutesy vibe to a room, and just making it look a little more cottage like, you know, mismatched furniture, more vintage vibes, maybe hand down or things we found at a yard sale or something like that. Off of that is the kitchen space. So this is the kitchen that I ended up doing. I love this tile back here because it also ties in the pink color We have our aprons. I put like a baking tin over here, like we're getting ready to bake something, and have the oven mitts there for that. But this is the vibe we have going on in the kitchen space. I think this is a really good use of the weird shape of it, I feel like, and having the sink over here next to this window. Like, this is a pretty view. You have your flowers right there with you, and then you have your tea over here. I love this new herb plant that we got in the new kitchen clutter kit. And then before we go upstairs, you can kind of get a vibe of what it looks like from the ceiling and see how high up this is. I usually like to have the walls be the same whenever it goes up like this, but this was too much. I did not want that pattern everywhere. And so I don't think it looks too bad with this being the solid color here. And I feel like it lends more to the whimsy vibes having it that way anyways. And then we have like our accent windows up here with the stained glass that I think is pretty from the outside. So once we come up the stairs, you enter into the bathroom space. Again, kind of a weird, funky shape for the bathroom, but I think it works. And I put a lot of like warm lighting in here too. Have our toilet back in this corner. I put this divider. I love this thing from the new sleep bathroom kit. And I use this sink not only because it's old-timey, but it has this little curtain down here that kind of matches the same color as the tile there. Kind of an interesting combo of colors, I feel like, in there. And then our little bedroom space I think looks really cute. I love this light from high school years. I thought that kind of tied in the red and pink quite well together. We have our tapestry over here, and then we have the end tables cluttered up. We have some candles, a little journal. Maybe we like to write in our journal before we go to bed. And then our plant corner area over here primarily with the hanging plants and our mirror and getting ready. And then one final look. This is where our sim is right now, already all cozy up in the library space on the computer. Final look at the library. And then I did want to show y'all in live mode what it looks like. So you can see the fish over here. It's super cute. It does clip because I wanted it to be a little off the lot, but it couldn't fit here entirely. So it does clip off the lot, but still there for the vibes. And now you can see all the fireflies on the lot, which I think is really cute. I tried to put them all over. I think it's always a fun vibe to add those little effects if you can. I put them all around back too in this little corner. It's kind of cute. It's just kind of a magical vibe to it whenever you add those in, you know? And then just as a reminder, this is what you're looking for. I have 6 of these on this lot. I have 1 of each swatch, so find those. Let me know if you find them. I always like to hide things in my builds. I think it just makes it kind of fun to download it and look around and see where they are. You do have to have werewolves to see it though, so I'm sorry about that. I'm uploading this to the gallery as Toadstool Hollow. It does use a pretty good number of packs. I'd love to know if you play in it. So that's the build. Hope you liked watching the speed build and just hearing some of my thought process whenever I was doing the build. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, and then also don't forget to comment down below to let me know which emoji you'd like me to build something off of next. And then if you see someone list one that you think would be cool, go ahead and like it so I can know what most of you would like to see. And of course, I'd love to have you join the community. And I also have a link to the Discord down below where we stay in touch between uploads. And then lastly, if you would like to support me as a content creator, I would greatly appreciate it if you click that join button, or you can click on the link in the description box below and become a Soul supporter. If you do, you get a few perks. And lastly, if you like cottage builds and you like to see the last one that I did, I'll put a link over there for that right next to Mia's head. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye. I really enjoyed this. I think it's really fun and cool to get creative and see what you can pull from one little emoji.